Welcome back to Iron and Pearls. My name is Dedry, and I want to talk to you all today about uh, hurting people. Not that you're going to go out and hurt people, but the people that are hurting right now. There's been so much going on in this world and in the United States and all over, actually, and we are finding that instead of having relief after everything that went on with the widespread illness that was brought upon us and lack of work and our children getting behind in school, and now we have new changes where people are losing their jobs and people are gaining jobs, and but we're having to voice things to protect quality of life. We're having to voice things to protect making sure we're getting food that's not going to poison us, making sure that we're getting food that's going to keep us healthy. We're having to question things to make sure that our children don't get harmed long term, that they actually have some evidence about what's going to affect them more so long term. Is there anything that's been in our environment that possibly has hurt the fertility of our children or maybe even ourselves? There's a lot of anger in the world and in our country. There is a lot of anguish. There is a lot of hurting people. A lot of hurting people. And if you've ever had, anybody's ever gone into a group meeting or a group of friends or a family meeting or family dinners, things like that, we all know that everyone usually in that group, most of the time anyway, has different personalities. And sometimes those personalities mesh really well and sometimes they don't. Sometimes the belief systems mesh with it really well and sometimes they don't. And there can be, really big conflict in those groups, in those settings. And it can take a toll on you. You can feel the stress. You can go from something that might have even been supposed to be a good time and an outing to going home wishing you had never shown up and talking about maybe never going there again or never hanging out with those people again. But, as much as people can rub us the wrong way, as much as things can go wrong, you can still be part of people's lives if just for a moment you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I wonder how people see me. Because, the last thing we want is for ourselves to be the problem. And that happens a lot, that we just totally don't see it, don't notice it, that we're the problem. What I'm seeing right now in our country is people are the problem. People are not being humble. They are not showing humility anywhere. It doesn't seem like where they should be showing it. They are not serving their fellow man. They are not putting their fellow man's needs and interests for their well-being first. That doesn't mean, allow them to squash you or take advantage of you or harm you, but we're not seeing a true picture of humanity and how it should be in our country right now. We don't have peace. Everyone's at war with each other. We've been told over and over through the media, you got to pick a side, you got to pick a side, you got to pick a side. We've been told, whether it's secular or religious, you got to pick a side. And that is so wrong. That is so wrong. For example, I used to teach children. I was a substitute teacher, and sometimes I got long-term teaching assignments. And in a high school, and other schools as well, but in the high school is where I like to be the most, because I have a heart for youth. But I remember, going in there and teaching different classes, and teachers had different expectations depending on how they taught their classes, how they wanted me to do it. But regardless of what their expectations were when I went into the classroom, the main important part that I needed to address was the students. And in these classrooms, sometimes we're 32 students. And all of them were different. They were all individual. They all had individual needs. They all had individual desires of where they wanted to get to in life. They all had individual fears that held them back from their potential. They all had needs, different needs. Some maybe needed more affection. Some maybe needed food. Some maybe needed clean clothes. And some maybe needed to be noticed because they were invisible in their home. There was a lot of things going on. Some felt that they were the ones supposed to take care of their brothers and sisters, and that their parents really didn't see about that at all. And they wondered what would happen. They felt guilty for wanting to think about going to college or going off to a tech school, because what would happen to their brothers and sisters? There was a lot of things that went on and that they spoke with me about. Because I did not go there to just simply teach them, reading, writing, arithmetic. I also went there because I spent many years in youth ministry. I went there to be there in case they needed another adult, a neutral adult that wouldn't share their business, would not embarrass them, would not make them feel little or silly or stupid, and would just listen to them. And if they requested it, give them feedback. And that's what I did, because that's what a lot of adults, do for young people. I'm not alone in that. We want to help guide them. We want to help nurture them. We want to help them become wonderful, caring, responsible adults that, and that starts with them understanding that, hey, somebody else cares about you. You matter. We think about you. We want you to do good. Your life is important. Your life is important to me. And I used to joke with them. I said, I don't know what you might end up growing up and doing and what your successes, may contribute to society and to me as a whole. But, I joke with them. I said, but I do know this. I'm hoping that even if I'm the only person that showed you love and caring, that will be enough that when I'm old, you'll be willing to make sure programs are available and easy to access for me. And what I see right now is we've got a whole system that is having struggles, major struggles, realizing that you might be in power right now. You might be the voice that gets to say yes and no right now. But you're going to get older. Something's going to happen to you. You're not always going to be there. And these kids that, I saw them put down kids on national television. That just, anyway, you can imagine how it made someone who worked with youth most of their life feels about that. But these young people are our future. And we need every single one of them, because there are thousands and thousands of young people, people that will never be young people because, they've been killed, they've been taken away, they've been done away with, they've been thrown away. They've been hurt, they've been harmed. And they will not be able to, if they are alive anymore, which a lot of them aren't, they won't be able to function well enough to help us as we age and to be there. And I think it's so sad when we don't express God's love outwardly to our fellow man, especially, young people and young parents and children. It's so weird to me to see some of the things that they're broadcasting to our young children that are still developing, are still going through things, who even once they're a teenager, their brain has a pruning thing that happens to where unused bits of knowledge and different things that are up in their brain gets pruned off like a branch off a tree, because they haven't really used that skill that much, or they haven't used that thing that much, so they don't need it. And so their brain changes some more. That's why they get so moody and so confused and so angry and everything else that can come up during teenage time, because it's like having an infant, but one who can talk and scream and yell and slam doors in your face. It's just the same thing. You may not understand them just like you didn't the infant, but you still should love on them, be patient with them, and be available to them and not throw them away. But what a lot of people I'm noticing in this world aren't realizing is that, you're going to get age. Age happens, birth happens, death happens, age happens. And things are going to happen where you're not the one in charge anymore. You're not going to be making the calls. And you need to be careful how you're treating your fellow man. And if are you being truthful, honest, logical? Are you being helpful? Are you seeing about the hope for the majority? Are you seeing about their future? Or are you alienating people by disapproving of them, by throwing them away, by judging them, by causing them more harm? Are you in a position to care for the people and you really don't care about the people? And I see that a lot. And I sense that a lot. That there's a ton of people that's making decisions for our country that don't care about the people. So, I mean, I just don't understand why people that are in leadership would talk in a way to turn us against one another in this country. Because whether you believe in God or not, guess what? Divided we fall. And who wants to fall? Because it won't be just one side that falls. No matter which side you're on, it's going to fall if you are divided. And if you continually divide us, well, you're the problem. And, let's look at race too. Why does it matter what color someone is? We have 3 races here. And I listen to people that's supposed to be leading our country and even YouTubers and things, and they don't even realize that there are only 3 races. There's white, black, and yellow. They don't realize that there's only 3 races, and they just talk out of turn. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. If I need a kidney, I do not care the color of your skin. And I'm going to tell you something even further. Even if I don't need a kidney, and I see you, I'm going to acknowledge your existence. I don't have to be best friends with you. I don't have to take you home with me. Who knows? Maybe I will have a friendship. That would be wonderful. But I am a human being, and I'm going to treat you like a human being because you are. God created you in His image, and I'm not going to sit there and take my foot and lift it up in the air and stomp on that. Now, we have a lot of people that is distorting the image that God gave them and are running crazy and confused and harming children and everything else with that. And I'm sorry that, you have that distortion. And I know people will argue with me about, oh, it's not a distortion, it's this, that, and the other. I don't believe you, and I don't trust you, and I've never trusted you in a million years. Just because they may be looking to take what's going on with you out of the DSM-5 manual, yes, I have a psychology degree, does not mean that I'm suddenly going to think, oh, okay, that doesn't matter anymore. That's not a problem. That doesn't exist. There's no mental or emotional or childhood harm that this person suffered that got them to this point. I'm not going to do that because maybe you would be better off, no matter how you choose to stay, if you went and found a legitimate person, not a counselor, you don't even have to pay for them, but a legitimate person in your community that you kind of look up to and say, okay, they usually tell me the truth. I see how they're living their life. They're living their life pretty good. I don't see a lot of drama in their life. I don't see a lot of trouble causing. That maybe you can talk to about the things that are going on with you and affecting you, and maybe that's pushed you to where you are. There's just some people too that, they're distortions and they're antichrist because they're against everything Christ stood for, and they want to be antichrist. And there's nothing that anyone's going to do to be able to change their minds on that for some of them. Some of them, God has given them over to the reprobate mind, and that's just how that is. It doesn't mean that you should stop praying for them. Yes, praying for them, not beating them down, not talking bad about them. It doesn't mean that you should stop being kind when you can. Yes, you should be kind. It doesn't mean that, you got to just stand there and take everything that they put out. No, just walk away. Just don't even go there. Just stay away if you need to. Do something else. Go see somebody else. Go talk to somebody else. Go make some difference somewhere else. We don't need extra drama in our lives. Lord knows the cortisol we all have running through our bodies right now for the last 5 years is palpable. and it's causing damage to our hearts, and it's affecting our sleep, and it's affecting our relationships, and it's affecting our children. It's affecting anybody that's in the home with us. Even our pets can sense when we're all stressed out. So for you pet lovers out there that hate kids, guess what? Your pets can feel it too, so you need to settle down. You're harming them as well. You need to start thinking about others instead of yourself. What can you do to make things peaceful? What can you do to make things better? Quit being so selfish. I mean, there's so many people that all I see is a bunch of selfishness. You know, we are in this country together. We need health care. We really do. I mean, I've been undergoing a doctor. Many people who've seen my channel know that I have something wrong with my diaphragm. I'm on oxygen at night, and they don't have any cure for it. They don't know what to do for it, and basically they don't even take care of me for it. I've had to go through the insurance, and the insurance has assigned me a care person just because the doctors have failed me so bad, and they're looking to have to get me care out of state. It's that bad. So, you know, we need doctors. We need people here to care for us. We need government officials to make logical, rational rules for the people. We want that as a people, at least the majority does, or else we wouldn't have who we do in office. Because guess what? Christ did not come to save those who were without sin. While we were yet sinners, he died for us. And so there's a lot of people that know that. But then there's a lot more people that, you know, they want a better life for their family and their children. And they want to make a better mark in the communities. And so they look for who has the better chance of giving me that. Who has the better chance of fulfilling what I need? Well, what's sad right now is we're all being robbed. You know, all this money, you know, I paid in for 35 years. Many of you paid in longer than me. Paid in probably a lot more money than I was able to pay in through taxes and things and Social Security and all that. But, you know, all of our money goes in a pot to go pay for these people that are supposed to be doing what's best for the people. They're our representatives. So think about that. God says we were made in his image. But these people are calling themselves our representatives. Most of them that I've seen don't represent me. I don't see myself in many of them at all. Don't matter what side you're looking at, I really don't see myself in that. How many of you out there could say the same? That you looked and looked and looked at these representatives, and do they represent you? Maybe they do on one issue or two issues. You know, maybe they do on with their faith. I don't know. Maybe they don't represent you at all. But we're paying them. You know, if I go to work and the boss says you're going to make this much an hour for this many hours a week, and I go to work, well, guess what? I'm supposed to clock in on time, ready to work, and clean and dress in whatever uniform or whatever way they told me to dress. And I'm supposed to work. And I am supposed to work hard. And then I clock out, and I do this ongoing for a week or two. And then I get a paycheck that reflects the hours that I worked. The hours that I contributed to the business I worked for. Well, I wish we had that power. I wish we could look at Congress and Senate and the executive branch, and I wish we could look at all of them and say, hey, I looked at your time card, and it doesn't look like you're really giving us a lot of effort in most of these hours you clocked on here. And it doesn't even look like you clocked many hours at all. And I'm going to put you on notice. And you get your paycheck this time, but maybe you won't get your paycheck next time. You know, what if they had to deal with what we have to deal with? You know, for us, you walk into a store, and I'm going to tell you straight up, you walk into that store, and if you take so much as a candy bar without paying for it, yeah, you're going to suffer punishment. But they're just doing whatever. They're just taking money and hiding money and defrauding us by putting money in places where it does not belong. You know, how is it okay to have your family members receiving money because of a position that you hold, you know, for their businesses? That doesn't make any sense to me. I have worked in places that they won't even let family members work at the same business. Walmart used to have that policy that you were not, even if you were just dating, you were not allowed to work together. If you were married, dating, whatever, you were not allowed to work together because they knew that that relationship could hurt their business and it could cause you to not put the efforts in that they were paying you for. Well, how come that doesn't apply to Congress? How come that doesn't apply to the Senate and to the... There was a lot of people that had government jobs and they thought they were getting somewhere and they were going to utilize that to have something in life, and I hate that for them. I really do. It breaks my heart that, you know, they're hurting, and there's probably children hurting, and they're losing things right now over the loss of jobs. You know, I hate that because just like the illegal aliens that came in and were promised that they could have all these things and circumvent our immigration system to have all these things that the United States citizens had. Well, just the American workers who work for the governments that of things that we really didn't need are in the same boat because you were lied to. You were told that, hey, you're going to have this position, you're secure, you can go ahead and plan on it, you're going to make it through probation, you're going to get to keep this job and all these medical benefits, which maybe you needed for your children, your husband, who knows what you were using it for. And well, guess what? It's gone. It was taken. You were lied to about it, and it was taken away. And so that leaves you mad, sad, and confused. And a lot of people don't do well with that. They have to have a way to take that out on somebody. And then you look at the television, what do you got? You got a lot of people telling you where you should put your anger and your fear and your emotions. They're telling you where. Why are you letting them tell you what to do with your anger and emotions and your fear? They do not have the right to tell you that. You are your own person. You get one life in this world. You don't know how long it's going to be. And how dare you have somebody that you're paying tell you how you're supposed to feel, where you're supposed to put your anger and emotions. No. And you shouldn't be lashing out at strangers with it, that's for sure. I mean, I cannot believe it that it was pushed, and a lot of Democrats that I've known had bought Teslas and things like that, trying to save the environment. And then it's liberals and Democrats that's hurting the people with Teslas. I'm like, you're hurting your own people. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It's not yours. Leave it alone. Were you not taught as a child somewhere, somehow, at home or in school, that if it doesn't belong to you, don't touch it, leave it alone? I mean, that's basic. What is that? That's something you tell a baby. When they're like 8, 9 months old, you start telling them no. So I do not understand this. Why do we have a country of leaders acting like children? Stop. Stop acting like children. Get a hold of yourself. Have some dignity. Have some integrity. And quit spouting lies. And do the hard work. Clock in. And do the hard work we're paying you for. Or you're going to find out when you try to keep that office that you're going to get fired. We're not going to vote for you again. Because you don't deserve to have that position. Because you weren't doing anything we were paying you for or not enough. And you ought to be ashamed of yourself. So it's not going to be just these people who were in probation that lost these government jobs. And it's not going to just be these immigrants that came in a roundabout way instead of the legal way that had promises made that they got their stuff taken from them. No, it's going to be you too, because you know what? It's your fault. We trusted you in those positions. We gave you money in those positions. We paid your salary in those positions. We expected certain things in those positions. And just like if we don't deliver at our jobs, well, you are not delivering on your job, and you don't deserve to keep that job. And that's what I feel. I think that's what a lot of Americans feel. It's not that we're in love necessarily with whoever's running our country. We're just trying to look out for our families and our homes and our towns and our cities so that they don't get destroyed and taken away from us. Now, it's y'all's fault that we have stuff that's made all overseas and not made in this country. I remember. I was growing up, and I remember when Walmart used to brag that all of their products by Sam Walton, he used to brag about it when he was alive. Made in the USA. Made in the USA. Made in the USA. Well, guess what? It's come back to bite you, hasn't it? You took all our jobs away. Not everyone is meant to be a bookworm. You know, we have a lot of skilled people who are skilled with their hands. Their gifts are with their hands and their minds. And you took away jobs from them. You took away the ability to create. You sit here and you praise people who paint paintings. people that don't deserve to be praised for paintings, that are using our government money to have cocaine, but the people that was sitting here creating wonderful cars and wonderful appliances for our homes, wonderful flooring, wonderful homes, all these things, you took that away and threw it, let these people be greedy and send those jobs overseas. And now we've got a lot of these kids. I've seen them. They're saying, I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm not really good at the school textbook work, but I'm really good with woodworking. I'm really good with cars. I am really good with mechanics. I'm got an engineering mind. I'm good at creating things. What about them? What about them? Shame on you. You need to do something up there. You need to quit sitting there and backbiting each other and backbiting our president, which God tells us to pray for, that he put him there, regardless if we agree and understand his purposes. You need to stop it. You need to represent the American people. Because guess what? We're tired of it. And if you don't represent us and get your crap in gear, as we tell our children, and get on your feet and lift your head and do what you were paid to do, well, you're going to be fired. We're not going to keep putting up with it. Because we're going to treat you like we're treated. You do not get to be held at a different standard than the American people. We're not going to have it anymore. So shame on you. Stand up and do what's right. And those that are doing things to help us, to make things better for us, you better start supporting them. I don't care if you agree with them. I don't care if you like them. Who cares? We did not hire you and put you in that office for you to care and like them. We didn't. We put you in there to represent us and do a job. Well, right now, the way your representation is, you're making us look like an ugly people. And it makes me ashamed of our country because of the way you're representing us. And you need to stop. But that's what I have to say today. This is Iron